Amipacho, I can't hear you. Ɔbenfo, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Debbie, still can't hear you.
All right, can everyone hear me now?
Aha, Ani.
Okay, just had to switch mic real quick. All right, everybody, Abibitumi Abibifoɔ. This is Ɔbenfo Kambon coming at you live from Abibitumi headquarters with another Blacktastic, Blacknificent, Blackific Abibitumi Exclusive Seminar. And we are dealing with the topic of Office of the President officially endorses Decade of Our Repatriation. What is Decade of Our Repatriation? The door that is opening for you, and what do you stand to gain? That is what we are going to deal with today. And I am excited to also be joined by KOD, who is in the background. We'll bring him on in due time, but we'll go ahead and get started with our slideshow presentation. And this is going to be a black-sighting year as we are generating buzz for the main announcement, which KOD says will be happening through the mouth of the President of Ghana, of all people, that is His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, at the Diaspora Summit towards the close of the year. So keep an eye out for that. But let me go ahead and share my slides. But before I do, I just want everybody to get a sense of how monumental this is. And I'm going to touch on this in my people were, seeing what was going on. It generated a lot of buzz. I saw a lot of information that was saying, it generated $1.9 billion and so forth and so on. And that's great. I was interviewed at the time by a young man named Wademaya. I said, it's a great initiative. I'm glad that people are interested in the continent. I'm glad that people, have their eyes on Ghana. People are interested in coming back. One thing that I mentioned was, I don't want people to just think it's about tourism. I want people to actually think that this is not just think, but for this to actually be a way for people to come home and repatriate. And basically what we have is a diaspora-led initiative where people are actually coming here and, what they're doing is plugging into the infrastructure. They're plugging into the structures. They're plugging into the means by which over the course of the years, all the way going back to 2015, that we're able to get citizenship, get people land, get people housing, get people cars, all of the things that they need, to actually come here and, put down their roots and spread their wings. Now, for those who aren't aware, a lot of this actually started with His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and I'll give you a background of why this is near and dear to my heart, is that back in 2015, we had Founders Day, which is September 21st. And, at that, we had Commonwealth Hall. This is the University of Ghana. And the idea came up of, why do we have to wait for a whole nother year before we can come together and have such luminary speakers, think about what it is that we need to do as a people and so forth and so on. And, I raised my hand. I said, we don't have to wait for another year before we can come together like this. What we can do is we can actually have a series of meetings at African Studies, which is where I work. So from 2015, that was September 21st, starting October, we did it the last Sunday of the month, third Sunday of the month. We started having these periodic meetings. Now, let's give you just a little bit of background again before we go into the slideshow again. That, what ended up happening is the executive secretary to the president had a call from Dr. Hamid Maulana, who we may bring on a little bit later, that, he brought in his good friend, the executive secretary, Honourable Kwesi Kwate. Now, as the executive secretary to the president, what he was told at that meeting, and again, this was called the Ministry of the Future. I want people to get the name of that. And then also Dr. Hamid Maulana, who called him. We said, we contribute a lot, right? We said we contribute millions, if not billions, to the economy as diasporans who are here in Ghana, but what do we have to show? It was like, well, what is it that you all are interested in? We said we want citizenship. Imagine I built a multi-million-dollar factory, but because I'm not a citizen, my business partner says, okay, well, you're deported, right? This is my business now. Like this is not a way where we can actually have any type of stability. Well, guess what he did? He took that message back to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And, unfortunately, President John Dramani Mahama was voted out on December 7th of 2016. But on December 28th, and again, a little bit before that, he called all of us together. And what he told us on December 28th, he said that what I'm doing here, I'm not giving you anything. I'm restoring your birthright. And that's when I and many others got our citizenship. Now, I know you heard about citizenship, in 2019, year of return, 2022, 2024. All of these citizenship programs, they actually started with the president who is on seat right now, as they say here in Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and the Decade of Our Repatriation, as endorsed by, the office of the president. This is actually him coming back to the forefront of something that he started. Since then, we've seen that Sierra Leone is doing it, and I love it. We've seen that Guinea-Bissau is doing something similar. I love it. We see that Burkina Faso is doing something similar. We see that Benin is doing something similar. But literally, all of this started out of a series of meetings where Black people were coming together to solve our own problems, and it got back to the president. So I just wanted to give people just a little bit of background. One, I want to give kudos to where they're due. I never heard anyone mention Dr. Hamed Maulana's name during the whole time that, all of these citizenship ceremonies were taking place. But he was the one who, again, called the executive secretary to the president. And again, I just want people to get that background before we go into what it is that we're dealing with now. So year of return is one thing, but return is different from repatriation. If you're returning, maybe you're returning for a party, then you'll go back. Maybe you're returning, to do a tour, and then you go back. But repatriation is very clear, right? And some people in the government were like, well, we don't know how Ghanaians feel about repatriation, this, that, and the third. But this is something that is actually destined for us to do. And I'm very, very proud to be a part of this. And for, again, KOD, right? As I call him fondly, as he calls himself, KOD, Kofi Ɔkyere Darko, the new director of Diaspora Affairs, Office of the President, for him to endorse this is monumental, not for me, not just for Ghana, but for all diasporans who are looking for a very clear road home. And we're going to go into the reasons why. So I'm going to now, again, switch over to my shared screen. So everyone, let me know if and when you can see this. All right. And I'm going to share my screen. All right, can everyone see the screen now? All right, blacktastic. Take off these, okay. So again, this brings us directly to the topic of today. And this is Office of the President, again, endorses Decade of Our Repatriation, AKA D.O.O.R, right? That acronym is intentional because what we're talking about, some people have heard of, the door of no return, right? And some of us decided, no, we're going to flip that on its head, and we're going to now call this the door of return, right? But now this is taking it to another step further. And I want you to just imagine this in your mind's eye, that anyone who comes back to Ghana, that they go on a spiritual pilgrimage where they go to places like the dungeon at Ogwa, right? What they now call Cape Coast. And what they do is that they make libation, and that's actually what we're going to do, before we move forward. But they make libation, and then they make this transition across the threshold in what is now no longer just a door of no return or even a door of return, but a door of repatriation. And again, before I go straight into my slides, let me not be remiss. I'm going to pause my sharing, and let me turn my attention to our ancestors, those who have made all of this happen in the first place. And if I may have permission from my elders, I would like to go ahead and get started with a libation. All right. So on that note, I'll do it in P. And, for some of us, we feel like it's very important for us to reclaim our own languages. And that's exactly what we're going to represent with this libation. All right. And I see in the chat, permission granted. from several people who I know are definitely older than me. So I go.
Amen.
I go.
Amen.
I go.
Amen.
For already, you can children from Kwana, children, see around you.
Yeah.
As I say, I'm Panama, as I say, you must have journey the Democracy.
Yeah.
About to have some dogs and see into me more back. That's a for about there from me now.
Yeah.
Nana Braquada,
Yeah.
Madame Tiadma, I see you be as a
Yeah.
rock, as a
Yeah.
me now free at the field for a chiato, and me number, Mumram, you see.
Yeah.
90 and I say, and they yet Bimranda, and you bring a certain kind of pound sign,
Yeah.
get from a name in answer,
Yeah.
get from Cosoni, Quanim, get from Puntin Adam, and I'll be found here, and I suffer.
Yeah.
The friend senior phone, some for, going phone, some for, son phone, some for, a central phone, some for, Yoko phone, some for, a Jana phone, some for, breaking phone, some for, corner phone, some for. When you remember, as I say, for Japan, piano. It's a yummy bibi or surround on the Sanka. And you move in I go surround Sanka, Bibi, I don't bench. You know, your person have a best fee. Now, would you remember fee? Any a yeah. They say, a hopo, and you know, fine chain.
Yeah.
You hopo, and you person is your more fine chain, our grocery. Your person have a fee. The young castle, if you're the yaban. That's your bar. One day I want to, as I say, yeah, if you need. Mumbo, your hobby. After the I saw her, Mukram of Nanatica, your person abands a pine, it's in India, Yedeba. You say, Obinina, Obiniman, Obitre, Yansini about for trim, Yantimo Guayana, San Yansina, and Sheta, Nan Tashi, 9-5, Yatapanina, set up by Yabi before you're betting us by your fee, when I said, Madama, Obia Bahano, Munina, no person of Bagana, and Timon, wow, Munina, and Mun be fireman, Munya be fine. After the moment when you're good, now, Mopo, Mohobine, Ghana. Brown and Kanka Abibimai, Momina Mumbra, after about Munchima Amonso Mumbra, Momukas, after Yamamo Abana Tanasi, Yamamo Quabanso, the Sasa Yabajamo Wawa Tuna who say it's still a fee, when I said Modarma. After our Tampo, Canon Cona, Yasimo Quanidia, upon the Brakra, Many, but that's Shanat Pona and Papa Poinas and Modarma. What's your name? I say, hi, what's your name? Modarma. What's your name? Cosette. So I hope you understand, even though I'm not translating everything, but essentially what I ask for is all of those who are interested in returning home, for you to have the way open, for you to be protected, so that your children and your children's children can take advantage of these paths that have been opened once again for you to return home. But again, not just a return, a repatriation. So that is the Blacknificent work that we are going to lay out for you across this entire decade. And again, I'm going to go straight to my slides. So again, it's very important that this is something that has come with the endorsement of the office of the president, right? And what's even more important is what you stand to gain. So we asked the question, what does it mean when the highest office in the land officially endorses Repatriate to Ghana's forthcoming Decade of Our Repatriation initiative? And again, we'll bring on from the Director of Diaspora Affairs, Office of the President, Honourable Kofi Ɔkyere. And we're going to explore these implications. What are the implications in terms of citizenship, in terms of policy, in terms of land acquisition, in terms of the future of repatriation. And again, this is going to strengthen your path home, and it's going to help you to win big. And what you see in that image is myself standing with my family and Honourable Kofi Ɔkyere, the man who had the vision in order to bring this into fruition. And we're going to really make this a blacktastic experience for you all. So again, this is an Abibitumi Exclusive Seminar presented by myself and Honourable Kofi Ɔkyere, and we'll bring him on in just a minute. I want to go through a few of the slides and then turn my attention to him, and then others who have major projects that were outdoor on Tuesday that are associated with the Decade of Our Repatriation. So what is the problem, right? The problem is that we really want people to move beyond symbolism, right, towards structure and substance. And again, the year of return was a powerful start, right? But many still lack clear pathways in terms of how are they going to stay, right? You had a lot of people who are coming, they would be here for 2 weeks in December, they may be enjoying themselves, but they themselves are not clear in terms of, all right, well, if I'm interested in land, how does that happen? If I'm interested in citizenship, how does that happen? Now, there are, various people who are doing all types of initiatives. I know people who are conducting tours, so forth and so on. Ourselves with the Sankofa Journey, sankofajourney.com. We've been doing tours to Ghana, or journeys rather, to Ghana for 27 years. But again, it's a difference between coming to Ghana for a few weeks versus I now know all of the things that I need to do in order to be able to stay here permanently. And again, there was limited infrastructure. And we're talking about, especially in 2015, 2016, and so forth and so on, where it came to long-term repatriation and reintegration, right? And essentially, and I know that this is kind of on a webinar format, but when I say decade, I want you to say of our repatriation. So wherever you are, even if you're not going to get off mute and get on the mic, when I say decade, I'm going to hear you no matter where you are. And for you to say of our repatriation. Decade.
Of our repatriation.
Decade.
Of our repatriation.
Decade.
Of our repatriation.
Open the door, right? Y'all may remember I came in the door. I said it before. Well, this is what we're doing right now. So again, we have a need for a unified, legitimate framework backed by governmental support. And this is what we have right now. And again, there was a lot of confusion at that time. Again, we're looking at, 2019, thereabout, year of return, because you had scattered information and unvetted providers. So you had all types of, people who are just like, you know what, I'm going to help people repatriate. They themselves may not have even, come to Ghana before, but, they want to help others repatriate. And the spirit of it, even people are coming from the place with, their heart in the right place, that you had a lot of people who didn't necessarily have the information. And a couple of years ago, I gave a talk with this brother named Ɔbenfo, where, again, I mentioned some of these issues. And it also just this idea of 400 years. So I ended up writing an article as well about how, enslavement definitely started before 400 years. But again, because there was scattered information and some people didn't have, let's say a dedicated lead from scholars and so forth who were able to set the record straight, you had a lot of people who were a bit confused about some of these points. And I'll give you examples, right? So if you look at, official sites, they were talking about 400 years since the first enslaved Africans arrived in the USA. And I was like, well, again, there were people in what would eventually become the USA, before that. And matter of fact, next year is going to mark 500 years since those people were taken, kidnapped, and taken to what would eventually become the USA. I'll go into a little bit of that. You see other sites that were out there that were talking about 400 years of the abolition of transatlantic slave trade. So you have some people who were thinking, oh, slavery was abolished 400 years ago. So some people thought it started 400 years ago. Other people thought it, ended, 400 years ago. But again, this is the reason why we actually need, that level of coordination where everybody is clear that there is an education focus in terms of things that people didn't know historically and how that's going to form today, right? Again, you see all types of, official sites talking about 400 years of the first enslaved Africans' arrival in the U.S. in 1619. And again, those were not the first ones to arrive in what would eventually become the U.S., and we'll look at that. Again, they talked about the first slave ship docked on U.S. soil, increasing tourism, investments, and so forth. And, it brought up a lot of questions. All right, well, are we aiming for historical accuracy? Are we aiming to increase tourism investments? And again, those don't have to be mutually exclusive. There's nothing wrong with, there are entire countries that built their backbone, Dubai, you name it, on tourism and so forth and so on. So it's not to knock tourism, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page. You see official website talking about Jamestown was a center of tourism in Ghana, as they have the lighthouse and the Jamestown fort, through which the first slave ship took off to Jamestown, Virginia. Now, again, that 1619 ship didn't take off from Jamestown Fort. It actually took off from Luanda in what's now modern-day Angola, and it didn't disembark at Jamestown, Virginia. It actually disembarked at Point Comfort. So these are the types of things that, when I wrote the article, the point was we need to set the record straight, because you have people who everybody's going to look to and think that this is accurate information, and, they're not going to be operating on the best research and scholarship. Again, 400 years, Jamestown, Virginia. Again, that was Point Comfort. Year of return stolen from Africa 400 years ago, 400th anniversary. Congressional caucus leaders, 400th anniversary of the first enslaved Africans. And again, this was part of the tourism. When you looked at this was from the Ministry of Finance, right? And they were talking about to commemorate the 400 years of slavery. And when people heard that, they were thinking, oh, slavery, there was no slavery before 400 years ago. And they were tying it to a lot of biblical things and, Jewish folklore and so forth and so on. But again, they wanted to promote heritage tourism. I don't have a problem with promoting heritage tourism. But one, I do want things to be based on accurate information. I want people to not just have tourism, but the tourism should lead somewhere. And that's where the Decade of Our Repatriation, takes over. And I want us to look at this because one thing that when we're even looking at 1619 is based on the U.S., but we know that enslavement was happening, one, in what would eventually become U.S. soil before 1619, because that's documented, but then also was happening in places like Brazil, right? There are more Black people in Brazil than there are in the U.S., right? Places like Cuba, there, places like Mexico, Guyana, all of these places. So we wanted to look at key events in diaspora history in years ending in 26, right? Because again, we're looking at the president of Ghana to announce it towards the end of this year. So this year is really about creating a buzz. And then next year is about launching it in full force, right? So this is the very first event in terms of getting that buzz going. Very good. So Decade
of Our Repatriation.
Decade
of Our Repatriation.
Decade
of Our Repatriation.
So what are we looking at? We are looking at 1526, and that is going to be 500 years next year. So unfortunately, there's no biblical tie-in. There's no, let my people go, Hebrew Exodus, or any, so-called Jewish folklore. But here you have actually historic documentation, and you actually have the maps. And let me just read this out. I'll highlight this part in red. But in 1526, Lucas Vasquez de Ayllon of Spain, with a large number of colonists and enslaved Black people, they like to use the term slaves, established the colony of San Miguel de Guadalupe. Its exact location is unknown. It was planted along the southeast coast of the United States, somewhere between the Carolinas and Georgia. And this is where it's thought to have been, because again, all of this was referred to as Spanish Florida. This side was East Spanish Florida. This side was West Spanish Florida, places that you think of in terms of, Louisiana, so forth and so on. But I continue, it says, there are several firsts associated with this colony. It was the first colony founded on current U.S. soil. Spanish Florida, not what you think of in the state of Florida, but again, this is in the southeastern U.S. These Black people who were kidnapped and taken there against their will were the first imported into the continent, and their uprising was the first rebellion of enslaved Black people in North America. And, I want to just highlight this because, when we're thinking about 1619, a lot of us may think about, oh, we were passive and so forth. The reason why I wanted to highlight this is that this was the first successful rebellion of enslaved Black people in what would eventually become the U.S. Successful to the point that they drove these Spanish dogs off of the land of Black people. We drove them out entirely, and those Black people stayed permanently, right? They didn't leave, right? They drove the Spanish away. So any other so-called colonists who came, whether that was the British, the French, anybody else, or the Stench, as I call them, anyone else who came, they came to meet those Black people who never left, right? And the ship the colonists constructed was the first built within the present limits of the U.S., right? So again, when we're actually going to deal with something historical, these are the documents. This is a documentation that we have to look at. And next year, as we are launching this Decade of Our Repatriation, and when I say Decade of Our Repatriation, we're looking at 500 years, right? And again, it was happening. We actually have to start when we're dealing with transatlantic enslavement in 1441. Recently, I gave a talk on that, but we'll deal with that in turn. Other notable things in the year of 26, right? 1526, you had letter of Nzinga Mbemba, also known as Afonso I, to João of Portugal. So he protested Portuguese enslavement of his people in a letter to King João III of Portugal. And he wrote, and I quote, he says, as soon as they are taken by the white men, they are immediately ironed and branded with fire. And when they are carried to be embarked, if they are caught by our guardsmen, the whites allege that they have bought them, but they cannot say from whom. so that it is our duty to do justice and restore to the freedmen their freedom, but it cannot be done if your subjects feel offended as they claim to be. So again, you have this thing, oh, Africans enslaved Africans. Well, you have the ruler of Congo protesting enslavement of Black people. But again, that's not part of the algorithm that we get a chance to hear about. 1726, right? Here we're talking about a good 300 years back. Francisco Menendez leads a Black militia, appointed captain of the Free Black Militia in Spanish Florida, defending Fort Most. Enslaved Black people also joined the Natchez Revolt, alliance with the Native Resistance Fighters in French Louisiana, right? We continue. 1726, again, 300 years ago in Cuba, as an English fleet maneuvered near Havana, enslaved Africans southwest of the city revolted and burned the sugar mills and other buildings owned by the Conde de Casa Bayona. 2 companies of mounted militia plus other troops were necessary to subdue the rebels. So again, these are actually historical things that aren't limited just to the U.S., right? I understand the focus on the U.S. People think about the U.S. as, these are the people who are coming for tourism, but we really want to make this Pan-African, to use that term, in its outlook, right? 1826, as I mentioned, that there are more enslaved Black people in Brazil than there even are in the U.S. And again, nothing against the U.S. I was born in the U.S., but again, if we talk about the diaspora, it can't just be focused on those who are in the U.S. So on December 16th, 1826, Yoruba Maroons, runaway enslaved Black people, many of them Nago, or also known as Anago, Yoruba speaking, living in the Quilombo do Urubu near Salvador, Brazil, plotted a revolt time for Christmas Eve. However, their plan was discovered. The Maroons fiercely resisted once they dispatched bush captains and militia to suppress the rebellion. I want to highlight Nana Zeferina, a woman warrior who fought with bow and arrow. Eventually, she was captured and forced into hard labor. But, we have, women who are able to lead these revolts as well, right? And again, this is another notable thing that we can look at to encompass more than, just the U.S., right? And again, I won't spend too much time on this. Foundations of Liberia College, 1926, that was 1826. 1926, Carter G. Woodson launches Negro History Week, which would eventually be known as Black History Month. September 1926, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, which I'm sitting in the embassy for right now. Abibitumi headquarters is officially the UNI embassy here on the continent, established Liberty University in Claremont, Virginia, right? So after acquiring Smallwood Quarry Industrial Institute. So this is just a little bit of background. Everybody thinks about 400 years, 1619, but I want to spread it to the entire diaspora so everybody can see themselves in it, not just those who are, born and raised in the U.S. So what is this about? This is a solution. So we talked about the problem, right? The solution is the D.O.O.R initiative. A new door opens, and I'm going to bring on in short order those who are part of this initiative and some of the things that they're doing. I know on Tuesday, Calvin Daniels came on. I see Ayana Parti. Calvin Daniels, he can tell you for himself, but he has a 46-acre farm for moringa and also dealing with snails. He'll come on to tell you. I see him in the studio. Ayana Parti has a $100 billion initiative, and she'll come on and tell you about it herself. But again, this is a decade-long commitment from Ghana's Office of the President, and this is the actual letter with the stamp from KOD, Kofi Ɔkyere, the Director of Diaspora Affairs. And he endorsed the strategy for structured, right, and vetted repatriation and reintegration, right? So again, Abibitumi, Repatriate to Ghana, brought this forward, and they said this is a great idea, right? And what it's really about is vetted resources, infrastructure, and legitimacy. Now, anybody can get on, Ignitgram or, Nitwitter or whatever, and say, I'm offering services, but, at what degree or to what degree have they actually been vetted? Do we know who they are, so forth and so on? But what we have is people are now able to come and they can feel safe, right? They can feel like, I actually know what I'm getting myself into. They have a direct liaison to Diaspora Affairs Office of the President, and they actually have the Office of the President looking out for them in all the things that they're doing, right? We're also looking at other things in terms of recurring subscription. We'll tell you more about that. Membership cards, language classes, and other things that will be going on throughout the course of the year. And I know, there have been people who I met, who I know and love. They say, I've been here 20 years and I never learned the language, right? I've been here 30 years and I've never learned how to say, what is it, Madasi? Like that's not enough. That's not enough. If we're really serious about repatriating, then, you know, we have to do better, but it's not enough to point your finger and say, oh, they didn't learn the language. It's now on those of us who are in positions to facilitate that to now help them learn the language. And that's what this decade of our repatriation is all about. It's about education initiatives such as that. It's about housing. It's about agriculture. It's about, you know, all of these and more. We continue. And this is a photograph. This was just taken on Tuesday with KOD. We have Kivoy, who is the head of Ghana Caribbean Association. We have Frank representing Ministry of the Future, who I mentioned earlier. This is a sister. She came with the brother Calvin Daniels, who I mentioned as well. Oluwatoyin, I believe was her name. We spoke a bit of Yoruba together. And this is a brother Calvin Daniels. As I mentioned, he has this moringa farm. This is Mama Siobhan and her son, who are doing amazing work in the Volta region with the Kazi project. So again, a lot of us are already doing this work, right? But what this actually does, what the endorsement means in terms of presidential backing and how it changes everything, is that now the work that we're doing has the highest level of political legitimacy, right? It elevates repatriation from a fringe thing that just some of us are trying to sneak in. We're not trying to, you know, renew our visa. You know, people have all types of ideas, right? But now this is a formal policy that's endorsed by the government. That's one. Another thing is that it unlocks new funding, resources, and government coordination. Now, all of this broaches the subject of what you stand to gain. And that's why a lot of people decided that they wanted to take time, have their busy schedules, because this is ultimately the decade
of repatriation.
Decade
of repatriation, of our repatriation.
Decade of our repatriation. Right. And a lot of people were like, you know, I want to know, what do I stand to gain? Right. It's one thing if the government of Ghana is just saying something, but what do I get out of it? Right. What does it mean in terms of visa? What does it mean in terms of citizenship? What does it mean in terms of the diaspora engagement policy? Right. Which actually has a citizenship component that we lobbied for. Right. And again, this opens direct access to decision makers shaping your path home. Right. Again, you have multi-million and multi-billion-dollar Black-led ventures that are featured. A Room DP, brother Calvin Daniels, who I mentioned, who's in the photo as well, Ghana Caribbean Association. Brother Dre Taylor was in the meeting on Tuesday as well. Virtually has The Beyond Investments, Access Africa at Home and Abroad. Brother Yao Achiao, who was there. And this is your opportunity to plug into viable, vetted projects. And I want to just pause here. So I'm going to pause my screen share. I want to pause here. And those who we've invited into the studio, I've already been notified that some of our brothers and sisters who are there in the Tuesday steering committee meeting have already joined us. And I would like to bring some of them onto the stage if that's possible. I see Brother Calvin Daniels is here. So Brother Calvin Daniels is doing amazing work. I don't know if you're ready, but we're gonna bring you onto the stage. And I want you to talk just a little, mention on the Tuesday meeting as well. All right, and Ajako Joe, is he available to come on and speak to that?
Looks like he's not available. Looks like he's having connection issues, so I'll bring him back on once he's available.
Okay, no problem, no problem. And that's understandable. Do we have any others? Ayana Parti, are you still in? I saw you in the chat a minute ago. If not, I can finish the presentation and come back around to you. And I did see a message from Ayana from New York. Okay, and she is here. Ajako Joe, can you bring her into the studio? And again, this is amazing work that she's doing. She can say it better than I can, but a very amazing project that, well, let me let her speak for herself.
I invited her to the studio. So if you get an invite to the studio, just go ahead and click the link and you'll be able to join and we'll bring you on camera.
All right, Blacktastic. Okay, so in that case, as we are waiting for her to join us in the studio, live and in full effect, I can continue with the presentation. And Darko Joe, just let me know when she arrives in the studio. And she's asking if it's coming to her email or if she's getting it here in the chat. So Darko Joe, if you can just correspond with her. And again, I'll come back around. I just have a couple of more slides, and then we'll come back around to those who are coming. And I hope KOD has also already gotten his invite into the studio. All right. And again, as mentioned, this is your opportunity to plug into viable, vetted projects. And that's really the thing, that once you know that these are projects that are being endorsed under the banner of Decade of Our Repatriation, or let's say you yourself have a project that you're doing in Ghana and that you think is something that you would like to see under the banner of, Decade of Our Repatriation, what you can do is reach out to us and we'll give you our contact information, as well. But you can reach out to us, and all of these will be featured on the website. We're going to share the site also before we close as well, but it's decadeofourrepatriation.com. So let's continue. Right. And again, what this is about is a track record of results, proven success from vision to reality. And this is actually an image of the Abibitumi conference on Black Power, where we brought in, this is the first one. This is, we have the third one coming up this year, but this is the first one that we had 2 years ago, 2023, where, this initiative is being led by Ghanaian citizenship pioneers. A lot of people are talking about citizenship, not just in Ghana, but, Ghana and beyond. So this is Blacktastic, that those who are, your voice at the table are the ones who are leading this initiative, right? Black Power conferences, things along those lines, dealing with education, economics, empowerment, or Black Powerment, as I like to call it, repatriatetogana.com. Anytime people ask me, what do we do with repatriation, I'll tell everyone, just go to the testimonials, right? Before you do anything, before you do, check anything out, check the testimonials, because all of these are people who we've helped to get citizenship, who we've helped to get land, who we've helped to build their dream houses, repatriate their parents, their children, and so forth and so on. And there's no proof like social proof. You can say, well, Ɔbenfo is a professor. Well, that doesn't mean anything. What's his track record? People can say, oh, he's a traditional ruler. Well, that doesn't mean anything either. What's his track record in terms of actually helping real life Black people come home and not just return, enjoy this new decade of our repatriation. Decade
of our repatriation.
Decade
of our repatriation.
And again, it's about land, logistics, and legal navigation and more. So this is the main thing, right? This is the main thing. So this is a snippet of what you stand to gain. And, we mentioned this in some of the literature that we shared prior, but basically we're trying to move beyond cash grab tourism, right? Some people are like, they just want us to, be a tourist and, get money and now go back home, right? But what we're doing now is we're making sure that the government, and it's really in their own interest, nobody has to twist their arm about this, but to make sure that the government is assisting in legitimate reintegration. And what you see at the top right are some of our Repatriate to Ghana clients. We have both the oldest person to get his citizenship, and last year's 524, and the youngest person to get his citizenship, and that 524 at 81 and 18 years old, right? And again, what you stand to gain, you stand to gain a decade-long commitment to ensure your successful transition. This means that, even with a change of government, that they're still committed to this decade of our repatriation. This means that even, if the new president comes on, let's say the vice president of the NDC, Prof. Jane Nana Apoko-Agyeman, if she becomes the president, she already is aware and has already been pushing for this decade of our repatriation. So this means that you can actually have the comfort and the stability to know that whatever happens in Ghana, that the government is backing you throughout this entire decade. Now, what does that give you but peace of mind, right? Again, strategic insight into repatriation policies and plans, right? And what we found, and I'll give an example of this, when we first looked at, in 2015, we were invited to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, myself, several other stakeholders. And when we read the diaspora engagement policy in its draft stage at that point, the only thing that mentioned the historical diaspora, which is us, was, you can come to Panafest, you can come to Emancipation Day so that you can get in touch with your roots. And all of us were looking like, well, what about citizenship, right? And, basically, when it's not those in that diaspora as constituents who are part of, that decision-making body, and I have to give them kudos for, bringing us on board first with calling us to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, and then second, actually taking our input into account, right? But again, it's very good to be at the table so that from the outset, everybody knows what your views are. What is it that you want? If there's a policy that's intended for, anybody from the diaspora, well, yeah, you should definitely have diasporans at the table who are part of that decision-making process. Now, this is a big one. A clear escape route off of plantation Trump, or chump, as I call them, and anti-Black systems. Are any of you aware what's going on in places like the United Snakes of a Murderer? Has anyone heard of, and this isn't a new thing, I can go all the way, I can go back to Oscar Grant, right? I can go back to Amadou Diallo. I can go, down a list, an infinite list, right? Sandra Bland. I can go, Laquan McDonald. I can go down an infinite list. But the climate that's going on in places like the U.S., in places like Brazil, right? The police will go into the favelas and use machine guns to start shooting down Black people. And they'll say, oh, they were all drug dealers anyway. This is going on because, as our ancestors told us, until this place that they now refer to as Africa, which I call Abibitumi, the land of Black people, that until this is a world power, no Black person anywhere in the world will be respected. Again, until this land is a world power, none of us, no matter where we go, will ever be respected. So what does this mean? It means that when you repatriate, this isn't just your own, oh, well, let me escape. This is actually you coming to build. And you're building this land to be a world power so it can not only stand up to, but actually defeat our enemies, right? So this is a very major thing because, again, if some of us are here and we're able to live in peace, right? Some of us are here. And I remember one day, this is just a sidebar, my son was playing with a toy gun and it dawned on me that he doesn't have to be like Tamir Rice, right? Where the police see him playing with a toy gun, and what do? They roll up and shoot him. I don't want people to, come away from this in fear, but ultimately this is the situation in which many of us find ourselves, but that ain't living. Marvin Gaye told us this ain't living, right? However, look at the smiles on the faces of all of those who are here. Imagine if you were on a plantation and you got your freedom papers. That is the feeling that all of these Repatriate to Ghana clients got when they got their citizenship. Yeah, so that's a big one.
Again, so we have Nana Kofi is here. It looks like he has a time. So I wanted to bring him on when we get a chance.
Yeah, so let me pause. Actually, let me pause on that note. We just have like maybe 2-3 more slides, but let me stop my share and I'll come back around because it's very important that we give honor and respect to those of us who are here live and in person. So let's go. All right, Blacktastic. And we're gonna make this, let's say, even a round table. So I see Ayana here from Akiakrom. Before you come on, let me just get a couple of words from Honourable Kofi Ɔkyere Darko, and then we'll come around to the Black Amazing, Blacktastic, Blackerific, and Blacknificent Akiakrom Development Project. So we'll come right back around to you. Nana Kofi Ɔkyere Darko. Are you able to come off mute? We're trying to ask him to unmute. All right. All right, we may have to come back around to him. No problem, right? So I want to, even as we're waiting for him to come on, we can come back to Ayana. I see Ayana is ready and she is raring to go like she is about to be in a foot race. and cross the finish line, 100-meter dash. But before I do, let me just mention a bit. So Honourable Kofi Ɔkyere Darko is the head of Diaspora Affairs, Office of the President. He is a fashion entrepreneur. He has 1957 fashion line. He has brought on many different events, and he's a visionary in terms of forward thinking. I'm not just saying that because he endorsed Decade of Our Repatriation, but that's an example of how he's a visionary. So I'll come back on and give him a more thorough introduction, but I just want everyone to know who will be joining us on stage. So we're going to come back around to my sister from another mister, Ayana Party, whose entire life is about development and projects and building. So Blacktastic, Ayana, over to you.
Welcome to the Decade of Our Repatriation.
That's right.
Do you want me to talk about the project now, or we're going to come back around to it?
Yes. If you can talk about the project, it can be very succinct. If you have anything to share, the images, the website, all of these things, but just let people know the scale of it, because, a lot of people don't think that we can do things big. Oh, if it's Black people, they must have a $2,000 town that they're putting together. And they even think about million with an M, but here we're talking about billion with a B. So let you just go into what it's all about.
Okay, thank you. I want you all to imagine for a second a city powered entirely by clean, renewable energy. Its skyline defined by cutting-edge laboratories, teaching hospitals, smart universities, and innovation hubs. A place where culture meets quantum computing, where science, sustainability, and heritage live side by side. I'm not describing Brennanzana, the capital city of Wakanda. What I'm talking about is real. I'm describing what is already under development, and it's not in a movie, it's in the heart of the Ashanti region. It's called Kofi, Africa's first zero carbon footprint city. We have over 250,000 acres of possibility, powered by solar, geothermal energy, and other renewable energies. We're going to build smart homes, data highways, green infrastructure, and even underground transit. But this isn't just a city, it's a platform for economic rebirth, cultural restoration, and global exchange. With the endorsement of the Office of the President of Ghana, the Decade of Our Repatriation is not just a program, it's a national priority, and Akuachrome is here for it. The budget for this project, the overall budget for this project is around $100 billion, and we have the financing all ready for it. But we need the diaspora. We're building a full cycle ecosystem to incubate brands and companies from across the diaspora and the continent to test, manufacture, certify, and distribute products on an international market. Picture this: a beauty brand rooted in African botanicals, ingredients grown in vertical farms and regenerative orchards, moringa, shea, boab, hibiscus, tested in university-backed R&D labs, packaged in sustainable materials, certified green by our zero emissions tech campus, and shipped globally through our logistics and international airport, which will all be built into the city. Or textiles, cotton, hemp, indigo, grown in urban forests, processed on site and turned into fashion-forward designs, distributed through your own digital storefront. This is not a theory. This is infrastructure plus innovation plus intention, and it's happening right now. We're working with economists to finalize a financial model that makes this accessible to everybody. And it's our goal. We're not sure exactly how it will be structured yet, but it's our goal to offer business loans to brands with a solid pitch, particularly those that align with our farm to factory distribution model. But here's the real secret. We're not just building facilities, we're building an entire city. a city that will need workers, doctors, engineers, chefs, architects, coders, artists. We're calling in talent from the diaspora, all over the diaspora, Ghana and the continent, to build a living, breathing ecosystem of culture and commerce. And to make it sustainable, we need the diaspora to participate. We need the businesses, the entrepreneurs, the creatives who will make Akuaprom a global supplier of African excellence. As an entrepreneur or a creative, you gain access to land, infrastructure, markets, potential access to capital, but overall access to purpose, rebuilding our culture in a sustainable and marketable ecosystem, zero carbon footprint, zero waste, energy producing ecosystem. We have the chance to build something that will outlive all of us, something that my children and grandchildren and their children will inherit with pride. It's not just a city. This is our return home. This is our Renaissance. This is our Wakanda made real. We need people to pitch their ideas to us to build your legacy. The gate is wide open, and we're ready for the decade of our repatriation. I will share my website in the chat, and if you have any questions, just reach out to me.
All right, blacktastic. Ayana, I see all of the people who are in the chat, talking about the grand scale. And again, this is a $100 billion city. So in the meeting that we had with the vice president's son was there and was like, well, there's been a lot of talk about a new capital of Ghana. And the idea is, they said, well, this would be a great capital of Ghana, right? The same way Abuja became the political capital, while Lagos was the economic capital, that we could have a very similar thing in terms of Akuaprom. So thank you very much, Ayana, for sharing. Here you see the website as well. We're going to bring to the stage Honourable Kofi Ɔkyere Darko. And again, this is not just an initiative, this is a full-scale program where all of these initiatives that are going on throughout the entire year will be a part of this. So again, thank you so much, Ayana. Honourable, are you available? Honourable Kofi Ɔkyere.
Good evening to you and all our family members over here.
Thank you. Good evening. Blacktastic to have you with us.
I hope I'm. Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
We can hear you. We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay. So I can hear you. Let me say a very big good evening to all of you. And it's an honor to be here representing the Office of the President, Diaspora Affairs. We're very excited about this project. As you well know, at a personal level, I have an event that brings brothers and sisters from the diaspora every year, called Rhythms on the Runway. I did not even know that at a certain point in my life, I'd occupy this very important space in Ghana's political space. And the Decade of Repatriation is such a big deal to me personally, because it's something that His Excellency, the President, is also championing, not just repatriation, but reparation as well. And is one that's mind-blowing, and what makes it special is the fact it's not even an initiative by government, it's an initiative by our brothers and sisters back home, and being intentional with what we have here in, so these are my initial comments.
All right. And thank you so much. I know, just for you to take your time out of this, and even more so for you to lend your support. So, it's diaspora led and Ghanaian partnered. And, this partnership is something monumental, right? when you see, all right, here you have, these things that are being done, sometimes people will say, oh, it's piecemeal, but what you actually have is an umbrella where all of these people who are doing all of these amazing works, and, you can attest to this on Tuesday, that all of them are coming together. Some people say, oh, diasporans can't come together, or continental Africans don't like diasporan Africans. Oh, diasporan Africans look down on, like all of this stuff. What this does, it shuts all of that down. And by the end of this decade, Honourable Kofi Ɔkyere Darko, if you allow me, I would like for you to become immortal. I would like for your name to live on into eternity as the one who opened the door for the entire diaspora. When we look at 1619, that's focused on the U.S., even in some of the historical, examples I gave, from Spanish Florida to Brazil, 1826, the rebellion of Nana Zerafina, to Cuba, right, to all over the diaspora, you had things that were going on. So by the time we get to the Diaspora Summit and we have His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to announce it, we'll be in a very historic year, a very monumental year, 500 years since the enslaved Black people were kidnapped and taken to what would eventually become the U.S. So, again, with your assistance, I would like for your name to ring on through eternity as the one who opened the door for all of us who are longing to come home. Blacktastic.
Oh dear, I missed the last bit. I missed the last bit of your presentation. With your assistance was the last thing I heard.
Right. So with your assistance, I would like for your name to live forever as the one who opened the door, the decade of our repatriation, who opened the door to Black people, not just in the U.S. I'm not excluding those in the U.S., but not just those in the U.S., but Black people in Brazil, Black people in Cuba, Black people in Haiti, Black people from throughout the entire Black world, to know that this is a place where they can come and build a $100 billion city. This is a place where they can come and have a $2 billion land project, such as Dr. Hamed Maulana presented on Tuesday, who can do hundreds of acres of moringa, as Brother Calvin presented on Tuesday. We have so many different initiatives that are happening and are already underway as part of the decade of our repatriation. So what you've done is you've opened the door for Black people throughout the world to come back home. So this is truly monumental. Any comments on that?
For me, what makes this special is the fact that right from independence, we had all the greats like Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, and all these brothers and sisters coming back home to Ghana. But then I think we're being more intentional this time, and that's just the way forward. This needs to happen in our lifetime, and let's just push all the way to make sure it happens.
Absolutely. And I know your time is short, so at any time that you do,
I know. I actually have to. I'm at an event now. I just came out to contribute here and go back inside. I'm representing the chief of staff somewhere, so I have to run away.
I understand. So understood. So thank you very much for your time.
Yes, sir.
Had hundreds of people who have expressed being on, and we're going to continue and make this the most Black powerful decade that the world has ever seen. Make this land of ours a world power that we need it to be. So again, thank you so much. All right. So again, he told me that he's at an event, but I really thank him for coming on just to represent the entire office of the president. And again, when the highest office of the land has not only accepted you as a repatriate, but respects you as a repatriate, as a naturalized Ghanaian citizen, what more do you want, right? When you can walk into, I don't know how many Black people who are on the call right now are walking into Trump's office and he says, oh, I had an event, but let me take out my time to, address your needs. This is the difference when you're in your own land, when you're in the land of Black people, is that your people have time for you. And I also see Ajayaw Ababu, I know also he had some time constraints, so I thank him very much. And this is one of our Blacktastic Repatriate to Ghana clients who got his citizenship in record time. Ajayaw, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience? You know, we're talking about Decade of Our Repatriation as put forward by Repatriate to Ghana. And again, all of those who have the initiatives that we brought on board, I would love them to come into the studio as well. But can you tell us about your personal experience with Repatriate to Ghana, right? This is something that's been vetted, endorsed by the president. But that's one thing to have it on paper. It's another thing to have your social proof, your lived experience. What has been your lived experience with Repatriate to Ghana, and what have you accomplished?
It is amazing. It is so amazing. I had a vision, and Abibitumi, with the professor and his team, had made that a reality. So I am a true witness and a testament to vision to reality. It's not just a dream. And some of the things that I can think of is on my journey here is to be able to live to my fullest potential, reconnect with those of my past, to invest my time, talent, and treasure, and leaving a legacy for the next generation. And this is what drives me. This is what gives me the heart to collaborate with your team, Professor. You have enabled me. You have guided me. You have helped me with the resources and the connection with those you know in government, as you said, to be able to build a new home, to be able to purchase land, to be able to get my citizenship. And, you know, this is the vision of Marcus Garvey. And here I am fulfilling that vision. And, you know, this is just a start. You know, it's not the end.
That's right. That's right. And this is, you know, one of the most blacktastic things. I think you flew in on Wednesday as a Repatriate to Ghana client, and by Tuesday, you were sitting in with the rest of the people. And I know from the outset, you were like, this is too, if it sounds too good to be true. But we said, no, brother, this is what's going on. And again, because we started the Citizenship Initiative back in 2015, anytime it's about to happen, they call us first, literally before anybody else. They say, you know, who do you have? And we say, well, these are Repatriate to Ghana clients. It's not like random people we're pulling off the street. These are Repatriate to Ghana clients who trusted in us. And based on that trust, we say, this is what we're going to deliver for you. And even if we have to call in airstrikes at the Ministry of Interior, that's inside, right? Because they say you're a day late and $1 short. We said, no, we got plenty days and we got plenty dollars. We're going to make this thing happen. And you came through with your citizenship. You were in that image that we showed a little bit earlier in the slideshow. And it's blacktastic. Matter of fact, let me add that to the stage. Do you see yourself? Do you see yourself in this photo?
I am the man in black.
The man in black. You should start a movie. You should have a movie called that.
Blacktastic.
This is a brother who, you know, started off like, is this real? We said vision to reality, dream to reality, going from your maybe your family thinking, what's this guy? What's he really doing? What's he interested? What's he talking about? To now they see you here with your repatriation, with your citizenship. Now you are building your house. I sent you the video of your house, the state of its completion thus far, your land, right? That you now are growing bananas on, right? Your citizenship. And it's only getting better from here because you still got to get the vehicle. You got to get the rest of the family over. And Repatriate to Ghana is here with you all the way. And again, it's not just Repatriate to Ghana. I don't want anyone to think about, this as just a Repatriate to Ghana thing. And that's the reason why we broadened it to an entire umbrella. So anybody who is dealing with repatriation, you're welcome to be part of this initiative, right? This is something that isn't just to benefit, me as an individual. This isn't just something for Repatriate to Ghana, but this is for anybody who is helping our people get home. Well, guess what? We are brothers and sisters in the exact same work. So any way that we can support you, we'll do so. In any way you can support us. I know that you will do so. And this is how we actually are able to turn our attention to what we really need to do, which is, deal with the real enemies we have in the world. And everybody talks about unity. Everybody gives lectures about unity, but this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
This is exactly what it looks like, what you see on screen right now. And I
want to
see.
share, may I share one other thing, my brother?
Yes.
So the home which I'm building, it is more than just a one-family home. I am building a home where I can share a portion of it with others who are looking to also in the diaspora coming to Ghana. So I have room to help others that they can stay at my place, whether they're coming to visit or whether they want to stay for a while. They can stay at my place and have a place of their own, and so they don't have to worry about having a place to come to. So I'm available for that because I want to reach back and help others the way you have helped me. That's
right. And that's a blacktastic heart, right? That you're bringing, forward. I was touched by Dr. Hamed Maulana, and I see his assistant has come in as well. That's Frank Asiama. I think I saw him come in. And if he's interested, he can also come into the studio. But Dr. Hamed Maulana, he said something, of course, paraphrasing Nana Kwame Nkrumah. He said he got citizenship before all of us got it in 2016. I think he got it in 2013 or so. And he said, my citizenship is meaningless unless it's tied up with the citizenship of all of my brothers and sisters in the diaspora. And I found that to be moving. I found that to be poignant. Now, for me, I could just say, give me a coconut. I'm chilling out later for all the rest of y'all. Like, I don't need to do any of these things. I can just do my professor job at the university. I'm a traditional ruler. We got plenty of stuff we need to work on in Ekriapia Mampong, roads and making sure that the youth have, jobs and so forth. But the power, the Black power in the work that we're doing is that we're not just saying, I got to get mine, you got to get yours. That was a song that was popular back in the 90s. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it's not about that. It's that if your brother's on the mango tree, you need not die of hunger. There's a proverb in Chi, it says, I actually mentioned that in the libation I poured. If you climb a good tree, we push you up. Now, why do we do this? This is the opposite. That proverb is the opposite of what we think of, which is crabs in a barrel mentality. The idea is that if you climb that tree, we know that you're not going to forget us when you get on that branch. You better not, because we got matches down here, but no. We know that you're not going to forget us when you get up on that branch. And the reason why we assist you to climb up is because that mango will drop down into the basket, and then all of us are going to partake. So the work that we're doing with Repatriate to Ghana and Decade of Our Repatriation, the work that you're doing, and that we're assisting you to do by helping you to, build that house, right? Some people think that it's a dream. Oh, can I build a house? You're building the house. So that's dream, vision to reality, right? So we want to thank you so much for taking the time. I know that your time is short, but again, if you want to connect with people who are doing these initiatives, you can reach out through repatriatetogana.com. We have a contact page. If you want to benefit from these businesses and organizations, if you want to be part of building cities, right? If you want to be part of the agricultural revolution, the backbone of Ghana's economy is two things, let me say, gold and cocoa, right? Moringa is the new cocoa. If no one has told you, I'm telling you today, Moringa is the new cocoa. If you want to be part of Brother Calvin Daniels' Moringa Farm, which I personally believe in it so much, I invested. I put my money where my liberation is, right?
I did too.
So there you go. You see? That was actually, that's reciprocity, because you actually let me know about Brother Calvin Daniels. He came to the reception we held for the President General of the UNIA, who is right here, right? Talk about full circle. He came there, and since then, he just reached out to me, said he wants me to, in July, bring university students from the agriculture section all the way to his farm. And he said, we're going to make that happen, right? So if nobody knows that Moringa is the new cocoa, you better know. And Brother Calvin Daniels is spearheading that push, right? And I saw another question somebody else was asking, is it something that is going to wrap up, at the end of President Mahama's term? No, it will not. This is why it's a decade of repatriation. And even more so, this is why it's so important that it's led by diasporans who aren't going anywhere, right? It's important for us to get that endorsement from, the office of the president. But a lot of us were doing this work before the office of the president, realized that they should spotlight the work that we're doing. And that means that this is an initiative that's being pushed forward during the term of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, but it is without a doubt going on. We know that the MPP, who did 3 citizenship ceremonies, well, 3.5 if you count the 2025 one, is still on board with citizenship in the Decade of Our Repatriation. And then we also know that the ND, who also did the original citizenship and will be doing another one again, that they're also on board with our repatriation. So no matter which party is in power, even more so because we're the ones who are leading it, it's really up to us. It only dies if diasporans decide that they want to stay on the plantation, right? But as long as we want to come home, this initiative stays for this entire decade, guaranteed.
We're not going back. We're not going back.
We're not going back. Our reaching back is digital, right? Now, Harriet Tubman went back to the plantation. Our reaching back is what we're doing right now. So again, if you want your businesses to be among those, you need to register on the repatriation, and then also you need to register on repatriateToGhana.com, right? And I see Deb Carson is saying that she is ready to get her citizenship, and we are ready to help you get it. So we continue. So again, thank you very much. We are going to let you continue. I know that you have another move to make, but we definitely want to thank Brother Yao Abibio. So again, you can contact us through Decade of Our Repatriation. Also, the contact link is very prominent on repatriateToGhana.com. We're going to share that in the chat. So Ajapa Joe, I see you backstage. If you can share that into the chat. Let me remove this from the stage, and we're going to come back around. Again, I have a couple of more slides. I know we have over 100 people who registered for the seminar, and people are still coming in. And we're going to take time. I see many, many more who are coming into the chat, but I'll finish these last few slides and then we'll come to address all the questions that you have. And again, this is monumental. Why? Because of you. You are the one who makes this the entire decade of repatriation, again, regardless of who is in power, even though it helps that those who are in power are on board with this and have we have the signatures, we have the stamps, we have the documents that shows that for this entire decade, they're rolling with us. All right. So this is where we landed. So this is what you stand to gain. Decade
of our repatriation.
Decade
of our repatriation.
Decade
of our repatriation.
Very good. So again, what you stand to gain, again, you mentioned access to vetted, proven repatriation support. I remember somebody was like, oh, I thought that I was reaching out to Repatriate to Ghana, and it was somebody who was using your name on, a white cesspool media site. This is where you need to just return to the source, right? As Nana Milkar Cabral said, that if you see us on repatriateToGhana.com, that's the place where you need to go. Also, the short URL r2gh.com. Is not to say that nobody else has anything, of note, but definitely the ones we can vouch for are the ones that are endorsed by the president of Ghana. You know where to go to find us, right? Again, spiritually grounded experiences with historical significance, right? And that is part of even the Sankofa journey. I mentioned that this is the 27th year of the Sankofa journey. That website is also going to be put in. That's another initiative that's coming under this umbrella of Decade of Our Repatriation, sankofajourney.com. Somebody else reached out to me and said, oh, I thought I was signing up for Sankofa Journey, and it ended up being a church thing that, was just using the name. Again, vetted, right? Endorsed by the office of the president. So again, spiritually grounded experiences with historical significance, going from vacationing to territory, being rooted in Abibitumi, the land of Black people, right? And then again, going from the sidelines to the center. So, some people were looking at, repatriation as, oh, well, maybe a couple of people are straggling in. No, this is something that we're interested in. Now, they don't know this until, they talk about the squeaky wheel gets the grease. We have to say that we're interested in citizenship. We have to say that we're interested in repatriation, and our voice has been heard loud and clear, and this endorsement is proof of that. So again, for anyone who is interested, repatriatetogana.com, decadeofourrepatriation.com. So again, how to get involved, visit, as mentioned, repatriatetogana.com, which you see here, decadeofourrepatriation.com. This is decadeofourrepatriation.com. The site is already here. We have a logo, but one thing that we wanted to do, even to build more engagement, is to open up the door, no pun intended, to all digital visual artists to do a logo specifically for the launch. So when the president of Ghana is going to launch this officially, we're planning on having a more blacktacular logo, and that will be unveiled. So we're going to give you more information about that contest that's going to be coming out. And anyone from the continent, from the diaspora, is eligible to, give their input into that as well. For those who are interested in actually repatriating, the best thing for you to do is sign up at our short URL, r2gh.com/quiz, right? This is your repatriation readiness quiz. So again, r2gh.com/quiz. You want to know what are the next steps? Oh, everything that I heard was inspiring. They had somebody from the president's office come in. You have people who are doing billion-dollar projects, multi-billion-dollar projects. All that's inspiring. What do I do? Again, visit decadeofourrepatriation.com. Right now, all of you are online. You can do that. You can open up another tab. And then again, if you actually are ready to come home, right? I was about to say, take that step. This isn't a step. Come home. Then r2gh.com/quiz. And again, we invite all of you to join the movement, to learn, to plug in, to invest, to repatriate. If you want to invest and actually get a dividend where you actually get paid back for what you invest in Ghana, then this is what you need to do immediately. If you actually want to learn more, plug in, be part of these monthly sessions that we'll be launching under the Decade of Our Repatriation, then that is what you can do. So this is, again, the final call to action. Your door is open. Repatriation is no longer a dream. It's a structured, government-endorsed reality. The future of Black power is in our hands, right? Again, someone was asking, will it last the whole decade? As long as all of us who are here are alive a decade from now, we guarantee it will last for the whole decade. Even with the support that we've already gotten from the government, even after the end of this term, we are the ones who are leading it, right? And I think that's the major difference between even this one and other initiatives where, the government of Ghana wants to promote tourism. They have whatever it is that they want to do. This is the one where everything is in our hands. So open your door, Decade of Our Repatriation. Step into destiny through decadeofourrepatriation.com, repatriatetogana.com, r2gh.com. And again, if you want to connect with any of our additional partners, again, we have an entire steering committee of some of those who are doing the most amazing work here on the continent, here in Ghana specifically. Again, go to repatriatetogana.com. You can hit us up through the contact link. So in conclusion, Dwa Medamwase Jerengenjef, Eshepuko, Asante Nisana, Matondo Mamingi. Appreciate y'all. Muito obrigado. And this is not going to be the last. Again, this entire year is about the buzz, right? So, when we saw that over 100 people registered for this, we were ecstatic. But this is just the start. By the time we get to 2026, we're expecting thousands and thousands of people to be on these calls. And even more than being on a call and, keyboarding and whatever, we're anticipating thousands and thousands to actually repatriate successfully, right? We don't want you going on YouTube. Oh, it wasn't. No. When you come through those who are vetted, all of your stories are success stories. The only non-success stories, I tried to figure it out myself. Or I went to somebody because, they didn't have a track record, but they sounded cute on YouTube. Those are the reasons why people are not successfully repatriating. But when you are dealing with those who are legit, who are backed by the government of Ghana, and who have a vision of what this entire decade is going to be about, that is an end to all of those, stories that are, let's say, less than optimal. All right. So again, we have quite a few questions that are coming on. And then anyone else who wants to join us in the studio, yes, you can definitely do so. So I see I'd be interested in what the Office of the President will do in relation to educating Ghanaians about their brothers and sisters who are returning / repatriating. There needs to be a public announcement using various media. And I'm in full agreement. I actually had this conversation, right? And, you know, he was saying that one of the things that he noticed, again, the year of return was a great initiative, right? You know, it speaks for itself. But he said there wasn't so much of an education component to it, which is why even the slides that I showed you, how some people say, oh, slavery was abolished 400 years ago. Oh, no, it started 400 years ago. Oh, it went from Jamestown to Jamestown. You know, they had an inkling about what it was, but these are official government of Ghana websites. And it really was a testament to how there wasn't a push for education. Well, now you have actually university professors who are pushing this thing forward. And even the dates that I shared with you earlier, right? Beyond the US for all of these dates that end in 26, right? 1526, 1626, 1726, 1826, 1926, and now 2026, that this is really the start of that education. And recently I pulled together a panel where a lot of our Repatriate the Ghana clients were on it. It has somewhere hovering close to 500 million, 500,000 views right now. And a lot of them were, you know, Ghanaians who were like, oh, I'm trying to go abroad and blah, 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 blah. They're wearing clothes made by white people. They say, I can't wait to get out of Ghana. And really, it just exposed that there hasn't been that education push. And they're like, you know, why are y'all coming here? We're trying to get out. Why? They don't understand. They can't comprehend what's going on. But that is why, again, we're the ones who are leading it. We're not for the government to do the education push. Every aspect of it, even in terms of listing those dates of Cuba, Brazil, the US, you know, all of these different places is part of that education initiative, so that the next time we have a panel like that, one, we'll organize it ourselves. It won't be organized by the enemies of Black people. And when we organize it, we're expecting that generally throughout the public that, oh yeah, we understand why y'all are coming, and we understand why we should be here too. All right.
Yeah, there's a couple questions coming in, Nana Kwame. I want to make sure I highlight some of the questions. And additionally, I want to have you speak to a little bit about the conference coming up, right? So we mentioned a lot about Repatriate Ghana. We mentioned Sankofa Journey. I think the conference coming up in December is an opportunity for those to have time to plan. If you're thinking about coming to Ghana, we have a conference coming up. Could you speak to a little bit about that too?
Yeah, Black Salute. So that is the Abibitumi Conference on Black Power and the Abibifoɔ Festival on Black Liberation. And for anyone who is interested, you can go to abibitumi.com and you can find out more information about it. Matter of fact, let me do it. I'll just share my screen so everybody can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about, and let me know if and when you see my screen. And I don't know if anybody else, I see people who are typing in the chat. I don't know who else is excited about this, but if you aren't excited by now, then we need to take you to get a blood transfusion and, you know, see what's going on with your blood pressure and all of that. Because if you don't like this, what do you like? That's actually what they say in Tree. If you don't like this, what do you like, right? And, you know, again, this is the Abibitumi Conference 2025, where you can register, happening December 12th to the 14th. We're actually building this out to another virtual component that will happen from the 5th to the 7th, and then a film festival that will happen December 27th, 28th, November 27th, 28th, the weekend even before that. So again, if you want to become a presenter, you can do that here. If you want to be an artist, a sponsor, a volunteer, a participant, a vendor, all of those are here. And again, that's right here at the homepage, abibitumi.com, A-B-I-B-I-T-U-M-I. Abibitumi translates to Black Power, right? It's monumental that we're talking about Black Power in a language other than the languages of our enemies. And again, this is an image, you know, from our procession inwards at the last conference on Black Power, right before the film screening and the statue unveiling. So yeah, that's what it's all about. Abibitumi.com. And again, Adjako Joe, I know that you can share all of these links in the chat. Abibitumi.com, repatriatetogana.com, Decade of Our Repatriation.com. And again, all of our other partners, we're going to make sure that you're able to connect with them. If you want to invest in Moringa, we'll let you know how to do that. If you want to build a city, we'll let you know about that. If you want to understand how you can deal with ecotourism. We'll help you deal with that. I saw someone else talking about bringing items to Ghana. We actually have a Repatriate to Ghana client whose items are arriving on July 13th, and they are being brought to her directly. She doesn't have to go to the port. They're being brought from the port to her house. They will unpack and unload all of them into her house. So all she has to do is this. That's all she has to do, right? Why? Because she is with repatriatetogana.com, and we have the inside track on all of these things, even in terms of the cost, right? In terms of the cost, in terms of door-to-door shipping. We got barrels all around. We got barrels that we're reusing for biogas, but that's because every day of the week we're shipping barrels and we're shipping containers and all those. So the people who have challenges, again, think about, do I have vetted support from anyone who's endorsed by the president of Ghana? If the answer to that question is no, then that is the reason why you're having challenges, right? I can't say it any clearer than that. For KOD to come on and say, you know, how meaningful it is to him. When we went to his office on Tuesday, he said, you know, this is near and dear to me and is right beside me. And I felt the exact same way because this is the original document. And this is his signature and this is his stamp. This is the original document. This is a historic document. This document, by means of this document, hundreds, if not thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of diasporans are going to be able to come home. Why? Because the government of Ghana, the office of the president has said so. So he has our proposal right beside his desk. We have his endorsement right beside our desk. And with this partnership, everybody's online saying continental Africans don't like diasporan Africans. Well, what's this? Everybody's online saying diasporan Africans don't like continental Africans. Well, what's this? The problem is we're only asking stupid people. But once we start asking people who have some sense, you're going to find it's an entirely different narrative. Why? Because we're not on cesspool media. We're running our own media, such as Abibitumi.com. So definitely, again, if you are excited about this, go to the hospital. Well, don't go to the hospital, please. No, we want you to survive. Go to a traditional herbalist. And we'll make sure that you're able to get something for your blood pressure because definitely your blood pressure is too low.
Nana Kwame, Nipacho.
Yeah.
So we had Brother Calvin. He just left off. I saw him. I tried to get him on and have him talk, but he dropped off again.
Okay.
So when I see him again, I'll bring him on. But
bring him on.
People are answering your question. People saying talk about it. I can hear. I don't know if they did the head nod with that too. I don't know if that came in.
Right.
Yeah, people are chiming in. So we had a lot of good questions. Someone said that they can help out with the logo. How can they contact us? Send us an email, support@abibitumi.com. All hands on deck. I see we have Brother Calvin just joined back in. I'm going to try to see if I can add him to the stage. I don't know if he's going to be ready. Okay, Brother Calvin. Here you come, Brother Calvin. Akwaba.
There we go. If you can unmute. There we go.
I kept getting kicked off, so I kept trying. That's all right.
All right. And your audio is a little bit low, so we may have to get even closer to, or have you come closer to your phone. But yeah, let us know. You mentioned something about Moringa. What's going on with Moringa and Moringa farms, and what does this mean to us as a people, and how do we stand together? And also, how can we invest in the work that you're doing? Over to you.
All right. Let's see if I can get this.
I think that's his connection. I really hope he's able to stabilize that connection. The presentation that he gave, well, that was in person on Tuesday. The presentation he gave, everybody was just like, tell us more about Moringa. All right, yes.
Well, as Moringa, I'm sure everybody know about the health benefits, but it's growing by leaps and bounds, and right now it's a $9 billion worldwide business, and that's the key thing. But not only about the monetary, but as more people get educated in Moringa, then it can help us all. Like I eat and drink it every day, and I'm probably one of the oldest people in this group, and I feel like I done lost 20 years since I moved here. But financially, I think Moringa can transform Ghana financially. You know, once other large stakeholders get on board, because you got to get organic certification. That's the key. And once that's done, then you can make as much money as the amount of Moringa you grow, because buyers going to contact you. I actually think they'll get to the point where they will bid on Moringa. Where we talking about, you know, 11, 15,000, 20,000 a ton. And then, you know, Moringa oil, you know, and the powder and even the leaves and the flower and Moringa honey, on and on and on. And far as the investment, before you make invest, they got to understand what we're doing, what it's going to take. Because I don't want, you know, people to, you know, jump in to get cold feet and we got to go back and forth. That's why I want everybody to educate. And then I am being very visual on what we're doing, so there'll be no surprises. And I want to add something. Yesterday, I was contacted by the United States Embassy. They want the individual, I'm not going to release his name, he wants to come visit my farm. So the message y'all putting out there, the world is recognizing what Ghana is doing on the Moringa aspect, agriculture field. So that's huge. And like I say, I don't know if y'all had any specific questions for me, but I want y'all to come out and see the farm, you know, see what we're doing and not necessarily learn. I'm not going to teach you how to grow Moringa. I'm not a mentor or trainer, but I want y'all to see what y'all can do on your own. And we're pursuing that organic certification. At that point, that's more than huge. That's all I have for now. Anybody had any questions? I'm available to answer. Can you hear me? Oh, somehow
So,
hearing
Abibifoɔ,
you.
looks like we lost your sound. So,
Okay,
Baba
nobody
Calvin,
hear me?
Aquaba. So, people say, I love to visit your farm. People say, I love to
Right.
visit. We got people saying they're trying to grow it in South Carolina. People trying to grow it. So, to your point, the word is getting out there. I think critical right now is that we do it right. There's a lot of people kind of rush into stuff, as you mentioned, right? We rush into it, and we wind up starting over. This is something that, you know, with advice of people who are already doing it like yourselves, we don't have to start over. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's avenues for success that you've actually laid out for us. So I think that's very exciting information to know. Ɔbenfo, sounds like you're back with us.
Yes. So, you know, you had mentioned that Moringa's $9 billion industry is set to be an $18 billion industry. That you said something that stuck with me. You were like, if I can only get 10 million of that, right? 0.0001%, any percentage of that is monumental here. And in Tuesday's meeting, you found out about somebody who is offering 100 acres, I think it was, for free for anybody who's interested in agriculture. Just give me, and I see somebody also said that they're interested in investing. And again, all of this can come through, you know, the umbrella of Decade of Our Repatriation. And when people are asking, is it really going to last a decade? That I don't think you're going to stop growing Moringa when President Mahama is out of office, right? Which eventually will happen, right? That's constitutional. But the fact that this is something that is now not just what you're doing, but it's endorsed by the office of the president, it just highlights what you're doing. It gives it more visibility. We all, you know, as individuals, all of the things that we're doing that are under this umbrella already have credibility. But the fact that we're now being told by the government of Ghana, the president, the highest office in the land, is saying that this is important to us. This is, you know, this is the security we're looking for, and we're not getting it from Donald Trump or anybody else, right?
Exactly. I think that in a relatively short time, far as making a significant amount of money where we can do great things in Ghana, we talk about within 2 years. I mean, that's the point of us getting this organic certification. I mean, just think if you get 20,000 a month of passive cash, you know, income, what could you do with that? You know, I mean, if you're retaining your whatever income you got, and you got a 20,000, because we gonna do the work here, and hopefully cut checks. Just think the impact we can have on Ghana. What do we want to build? Schools or hospitals or training centers? I mean, that's what I'm for. I'm not. my retirement income is good enough where I can live well anywhere I want to go. But now I want to do something here that I can impact not just my family and my friends, but other people who look like me. And that's important to me. I mean, I like to say, when I came and visit here, I knew within a couple of days I was on move to Ghana. I mean, and I've been here 4 years and a month now, and I tell you, I'm still not disillusioned. I don't accept Ghana time, but that's a whole nother story. But we have Ghana time in America. They call it something else, but that's a whole nother story as well. But I think of course, I'm not in the medical field, but I think everyone that hear my voice or read what I write, they should be ingesting moringa in some way every day. That's how key it is. I mean, I have enough energy for 2 people, I tell you, and it's key to moringa. I mean, I hate to keep piping it, but we need large stakeholders to get involved on making Ghana the moringa capital of the world. Right now, you say moringa, they think about India. In India, I found out India is not, their moringa is not organic certified by national standards. They got this, it's NPOP. I can tell you what that is later, but it's an internal India certification. So that's why people are rejecting their moringa because it's not organic certified. And also when you buy moringa, even locally, and then people have organic certification, you need to ask this question. They say it's organic moringa. You got to ask the question, are they organic certified?
Right.
If they don't have that documentation, they may be growing it by organic standards. That's what India does, but it's not organic certification. And that's a key where people will bid on our moringa once we get that certification. I mean, I don't know how. What's bigger than huge? I mean, tremendous.
Right.
I mean, I would love to be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was like humongous, black mental.
Yeah. I'm not talking about. Just think if we had a point in 2 years where your passive income.
I think we just lost Brother Calvin.
Yeah, we did lose him.
No problem.
I see several. I think Brother Calvin got everybody riled up in the chat over here. I see a lot of comments in the chat. He can mention. I put a link in the chat here where a question was asked. Is this a YouTube alternative? So I put the link to abibitumitv.com, the video for Baba Calvin. If you go to abibitumitv.com and type in search, you'll be able to see some of the talks. So Baba Calvin, we saw you drop off. One thing, Baba Calvin, I hear you mention a lot, and I think it's part of the vision you have a lot, is you talk about infancy, childhood infancy, the births, the situation in Ghana. And I think it speaks to a lot of times when we get this notion that the diasporans are coming here to the continent with visions of money, and we kind of like they people kind of put us in as a black capitalist, but what we're trying to do is something totally different. This is an opportunity to own fixing ourselves for ourselves, right? So you speak to a little bit about your vision of just that childhood, infancy, birth rates, and things you're trying to do, and I think that'll spark people, give them a real sense of, the money's there. The money's there. The money's there all the way. But what we can do with that money, I think, is the bigger picture.
I mean, if we line our pockets with just the money and then leave the people behind, we're no different than what they do to us in America. And you know who they are. And infant mortality, even though Ghana is considered a third world country because of the infant mortality and the early death rate, the average Ghanaian life expectancy is only 62 years. The retirement age is 60 would mean 2 years after retirement, they expect to be in the ground. And that's horrible. And infant mortality, something as simple as eating or drinking moringa daily would lower the infant mortality rate. When I say where's the government, not to be negative, but the government should be communicating a simple thing as moringa to the masses, because the average farm girl or farm woman, they can't afford prenatal vitamins. Because that's imported. If there was is there a Ghana prenatal vitamin? No. I mean, if it is, yeah. So there's something we got to change, and after I challenge people like the doc and these in y'all positions, y'all can reach a broader people face to face versus social media, because sometimes people go to social media for gigs and giggles. But I mean, even though there's I'm gonna use social media to get my product and word out as well. But there should be a class on just simple hygiene and diet. Me not being Ghanaian, I can't tell a Ghanaian don't eat banku, fufu, rice, and bread. Well, I don't say don't eat it as much, because their parents do it, their grandparents do it. But the sugar is killing the Ghanaian people, the carbohydrates. And that's nothing. The mothers eat these carbohydrates, they're not getting, the zinc and all the other vitamins that a baby needs. So the baby either born premature or they're born underweight and they don't thrive and they die. And that's horrible. So that's something we have to do, because we know something we know from day one. Flossing. If you don't floss, you get rotten teeth, you get heart diseases. Things like that is not tied in together here. And not to say we are not the Ghanaian saviors, but we need to help them, educate them beyond formal education. And I share my knowledge willingly to people. People, oh, you shouldn't do that. They might try to get ahead of you. Okay, they get ahead of me. I'm still going to be a millionaire. I'm not concerned with that. I think my plan is so broad that can't nobody stop me. And I just met with a formulator yesterday, a business lady Sharp, where as soon as we producing moringa oil and snail mucin, I'll have a product on American shelf, hopefully by Christmas. And so, that's huge. So at that point, we make an income, then 100 acre, 200 acre, maybe I can buy 100 acres every year. I want a 100-acre banana farm. The biggest banana plantation / farm on this continent, I think maybe in the world, is in Ghana. And it's not owned by a Black person. I think something we can fix that. We can change that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I don't want to add one thing, not to go into money. I'm sorry, Doc. But if things fall into place, I anticipate by June of next year, each employee on my farm, we're making 10,000 CDs a month.
Right.
I just wanted to add that. That's my goal. If I do that, then investors, they're going to probably be at 25,000 a month. That's dollars, CDs versus dollars, though. Let me say that. That's dollars for the investors, CDs for the employees.
Right.
All right. Now, I mean to cut you off, sir.
No problem. So we have people who are interested in investing. I told people in the chat, you can reach out to all of those ventures, and there are many more. Those who are on Tuesday, who actually came to the office of the president on Tuesday with me. So for those who are interested in investing, those who are interested in many of the initiatives that are going on. And one thing that I think really sealed the deal in terms of getting the endorsement from the office of the president is that none of us are begging the government of Ghana to do anything, right? Like like Brother Daniels has his farm already, right? Some of us who are, doing all of these other ventures, we're doing what we're doing already. Professor at the university already, all these things that we're doing. But essentially what the endorsement does is it gives greater visibility, right? And that's one. And then two, it shows that all of us as diasporans and continental, Ghanaians and so forth, are working together towards a common goal. And that's something that your algorithm is steadily hitting you with, oh, they don't get along, they don't like each other. Every single day you're getting hit with that from the algorithm. Why? Because the one who programmed the algorithm benefits from that narrative. But what you're actually seeing live and in full effect is amazing work being done. The 46 acres, that's going to be 100 acres. That's going to be 100 acres every year. Hey, I'm all for it. That's our company, right? I just saw Ayana Parti with the $100 billion city. She's doing agro-pharmaceuticals in a lab using moringa at Okuyakurum. I'm all for it, right? The processing facility that's coming on. So again, this isn't just, a one-off thing. This isn't just, one initiative and, that's it. Or the government is saying this, but once they get out of power, this is diasporans clearing the way for our brothers and sisters and being assisted by those who are already here who want their brothers and sisters to come home, not as a walking ATM, not as a tourist, stay here for 2 weeks, now go back. I got your money, now go back. This is be here, find a wife, find a husband, have children, right? Live on your land, breathe fresh air. Don't get a knee on your neck. Don't get shot for driving home, right? This is an entirely, and this is Ghana putting their money where their mouth is. And for those who are here online, put your money where your liberation is. And it's right here in Ghana. So repatriatetogana.com is the first step that you can take. Decade of Repatriation. This session was just to get the buzz started. We're going to have many more of these sessions, all the way up to the president of Ghana launching it himself. As KOD said, the Diaspora Summit, he thought that would be the best place. And that's in December. I think it said December 19th. So everything is going to be buzz, 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 buzz. It's going to increase all the way up to the formal launch. And then we're off to the races. And we are the ones who are spearheading this.
Get on board right now.
Get on board right now.
And don't forget, Burkina is part of this too. It's not left out.
And Burkina is part of this too, but we're going to hold off on that as well. We've been in talks also with the ambassador for Burkina Faso, and we have a delegation. We have a lot of things that are going to be going on. So just stay connected. Go to decadeofrepatriation.com. Go to repatriatetogana.com. Contact us through the contact form there, and we will definitely reach back out to you. There's a chat there that's live on the bottom of the site as well. We will reach back out to you, and yeah, you'll find out more about all the initiatives that are under this wider umbrella, right? And nobody's under anybody. We're all doing blacktastic work. Well, they say, a rising tide raises all boats. We're all raising up so that our land can be, once again, the superpower it needs to be for us worldwide. All right.
Outstanding. Hey, Doc,
All right.
just one more thing. We discussed about maybe having some agriculture students to come out here with you or just as a visit, just to, see what we're doing. So they may have ideas, so they don't get disillusioned on agriculture as well, so we need to plan that as well,
July. We're looking at that happening in July. So we did discuss that. I actually mentioned that when you dropped off, that's one of the major things that we want to do. Because what that does, some of you may have seen that, the panel, where it's repatriated Ghanaians, there is Ghanaian students who actually ended up teaching at a class 2 weeks after that. All of those were students of one of my former students at NAFTI. But all of them were like, oh, I can't wait to get out of Ghana. If I could get out of Ghana, I would leave right now. Going to your farm is going to make them say, what in the world was I thinking? Let me go plant some moringa trees. Let me invest. Let me do something. You see what I'm saying? So we're going to make that happen, because what we do when we repatriate is that we inspire by showing people possibilities and vice versa. So, this is a beautiful thing that's going on right now. We'll make that happen.
We can repeat again,
right.
Different sites.
So again, what we'll do is, let me share again the different sites that we have for people to connect. If you want to connect with Brother Calvin Daniels as well, we are going to just show everybody repatriatetogana.com, Decade of Our Repatriation.com. So this is the umbrella. And what we'll be doing is we'll be getting the logo of Brother Calvin Daniels, our company. I'm part of it as well. Decade of Our Repatriation, repatriatetogana.com. Again, hit the contact form there. R2GH is a short URL. It'll take you to the same site, repatriatetogana.com. And again, this is us just getting the word out about the Decade of Our Repatriation and what a Black powerful decade it will be. All right. So we're going to go ahead and transition to our libation. I don't know, Brother Calvin Daniels, any last words? Again, as one of our featured project, we said we're ready to project in progress, right? This isn't just come on tour and have a party. This is actually make an impact and do something lasting over this course of the entire decade. Any last words for those of us who are on?
But yeah, those of you who are in Ghana, plan on visiting Ghana, or definitely come to the farm and visit. Interact with us, my employees. I treat them like employees, not any lesser. We are the same. It's just that my great grandparents were captured and theirs wasn't. And by the way, my great grandparents were born enslaved. They were born in 1848 to 1863. So, and that's great grandparents, not great. So, we culturally we're different. We're the same people DNA wise. I'm 96% West African per DNA. So, I mean, that's high for African American, I know. But I want people to come out, even if you don't invest, come out and see what we're doing. So maybe you can do your 46-acre moringa farm, But my mode is to dominate the industry. I mean, if I'm gonna do moringa, why not 5 years have 1,000 acres of moringa? Well, everybody in the world, they want organic moringa, they're gonna call Ghana. So like I say, if you have any questions, my contact information, Doc, give my contact information. I got a website, I got commercials, I got snail slime commercial. We're working on a couple of moringa commercials. I mean, that's huge, and there's really a lot of response. I got, like I said, 4 customers say they want 10 tons of moringa powder a month. Potential customers, So, and that's huge, and that's only 4 customers, and I got 2 in South Korea and 1 in Japan need a ton of moringa oil. So, and then I'm working with a local Ghanaians to do chicken feed with once you process the oil from the seeds, the chaff can be fed to animals. So we want to create a chicken feed to lower the cost for farmers here in Ghana on feeding their chickens. Right. So, I mean, it's go on and on. I can, I self-taught on this subject. So it's like when I say I throw a number out, I expect you to research it, but I done already researched it, So I know. Yeah. So that's all I have. So right now, Doc.
Well, some people say the sky's the limit. Rolling with Shy Hills, the sky's the beginning. So off to space, we rolling.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
All right, and thank you so much for your time. I'm really happy that you were able to join us and give up your time and energy. That this is one of the crown jewel projects that's going on. Part of the Decade of Repatriation is I want people to come to your farm. Anybody who comes to Ghana, through us needs to come to that farm and be inspired about the work that's going on, invest, all of that. So we're going to make that happen, and definitely thank you for joining us this evening.
All right, thank you. Thank everybody.
All right, thank you. All right. So I think on that note, we are going to go ahead and move to our closing libation. I see that throughout we had well over 100 people. Some people came and left and came back and so forth. But we are right now sitting right at 52. And we really appreciate, we've gone for a time, but we definitely thank all of you who have stuck with us throughout the entire program. And what you see right here on the screen, Abibitumi Abibifoɔ, and we extend our gratitude to each of you for joining today's Abibitumi Exclusive Seminar. So these weekly gatherings are a space for serious study, analysis, and action, and alignment with the mission of Abibitumi, Black Power in thought, speech, and action. So we bring together respected elders, esteemed scholars, leading experts, innovators across various fields, including agriculture, technology, language, culture, and self-sufficiency. There's always something going on at Abibitumi. So if you haven't already downloaded the app, download the app, both in the App Store, the Play Store. You can just do a search for Abibitumi. You'll be able to download it. And yeah, every single weekend we have programs exactly like this going on. And this is, again, to provide knowledge and strategies that advance our collective liberation. So we look forward to your participation in the next event, and that is tomorrow. And that is going to be on the Sankofa journey. Everybody who signed up here, we're going to send out another newsletter. So the same way you heard about this, you'll hear about that one as well. But the short URL is abibitumi.com/SJ 2025. That's SJ2025. That's Sankofa Journey 2025. That's abibitumi.com/SJ2025. You can register for tomorrow's event. It's an information and sharing session for the longest journey to Ghana that's out there. You have people who just found out that they were Black yesterday and now they want to do a journey. That's fine. I love it. Y'all come. But if you want the ones who actually have been doing this for 27 years, then you definitely need to go with the Sankofa Journey, SANKOFAJOURNEY.com. It's going to be Blacktastic this year. That's where the Burkina ties in. I'm not going to say much until we sit down with the ambassador to Burkina Faso. We have an award. I won't say much about that either, but we have illustration of President Ibrahim Traore. I won't say much. Let me stop saying stuff before I say much about something I don't want to say much about. But, you know, again, this is one of the most Blacktastic things that you see going on, and we love all of you who are coming home. You love your mother. You love your mother. You love your mother, the continent, and, you know, this is the way for you to come home to your motherland. So, again, thank you for all of your time. We're going to close out with a closing libation. And, you know, this has been a very Blacktastic. Oh, and I see Nana Ekwia Otubia as incoming development queen mother of Mampo Ekwiapion. That's where we are right now. I would like to connect regarding the December event, definitely. We had Nana Pebia, who came last year with a delegation representing, you know, the traditional rulers here at Ekwiapion Mampo. So we would definitely like to connect with you. And yeah. On to the next win.
For Journey, and all of these are initiatives, all endorsed under.
Right, and all of these, and everything that we've mentioned in terms of Sankofa Journey, that's under the Decade of Our Repatriation, endorsed by Office of the President. The conference, the Abibitumi Conference for Black Power, again, that's under Decade of Our Repatriation. The Abibifoɔ Festival is under Decade of Our Repatriation. So if you want security, people are like, oh, you know, these people are telling me come to Ghana. How do I know they're legit? This is how you know they're legit, because if they don't have a letter from the Office of the President, and you know who did it first. If they come after me, then that's another thing. But if they are not endorsed by the Decade of Our Repatriation Office of the President, then you need to say, all right, let me find out what's actually going on. But yeah, I won't continue much further on that point. I'll go straight into our libation. And again, we look forward to you joining us tomorrow. The link is already in the chat. And this is, you know, the theme for this year's Abibitumi Conference on Black Power is coming up this December, is what Black Power is. Demonstration over conversation. I want you to think about that. Demonstration over conversation. This isn't getting out and giving lectures about, oh, one day we need to repatriate. Oh, one day we need to have Black Power. This is all of those projects like what you heard today who are already doing Black Power in action. So if you're very serious about it, then, you know, this is where you put your money where your liberation is. So, Abibitumi, Abibifoɔ, with the permission of our incoming Nana Nkosahima of Ekwiapion Mampo, I would like to go ahead and pour libation. All right, and email, let's give you support at repatriatetogana.com. All right, Blacktastic. Ago.
Amen.
Ago.
Amen.
Ago.
Amen.
Otumfo arade nyoko bonkyere mponkwa no kyerɛ osi no ma onsi.
Yeah.
Asase ampani na ma asase odimu samadwene de de mefedie.
Yeah.
Aboso de aso bodo so te yentimi mo de baako baako na so ye para baako de from ni na. Na na broko da. Na ndam ti adema. Asi de bi asi boako asejefo. Mo ina afrete fi ho apia to ye mo ina mamra mi jonsi. Na ne de ene se ye fra senior phone sama for gonna phone sama for sono phone sama for asset phone sama for yoko phone sama for agena phone sama for break phone sama for kana phone sama for mo ina mamra ya na no mo a ye de mo ko nkwatom mo ina mo ko nsu kasi ase mo ina mo wo amanone mo ina mo mbra me kai ho ya ta say ye dem say mo pes mo betie mo sunsun mo ho nkamo awo androchire mo mbra sa afe sa mfedu a eba no e ka se mo nsambra fie mo nsambra e sa te fie ne fie na mo nyina mo mbra mo kai ho na afe de ya ye ba abibima ha no ye so ha mo kra mo nan sika ma no wo ba biasa
Yeah.
My name fra, my sonsi, my cotimbu, my bonibia, Siaquamu, my nibia, Siaquamu. As I said, the person, the uncle Chan Chrono, Nakos and Chedu.
Yeah.
Who peso go, Uncle Swana go so.
Yeah.
You are 2 of Nakasanetum. Yeah. And see the Bonophobia, Canon Corner, before our person was about Mahano, Omojadia. Yeah. Or put it around my ye. Yeah. Or just send out to point out and then top up point out some Modorma. Yeah. Monsieur and I, say hi. Monsieur Miami, a pie Modorma. Monsieur and I, Cosette. Yeah. Cosette. Yeah. All right. So, on behalf of the Decade of Our Repatriation, again, I want to thank all of you for being your Black powerful selves. I want all of you to come home if you are already home. I want all of us to come together, those of us who are already here. This is an umbrella for all of us. Any initiative, any project that is legit, that's doing the work to bring our people home, to help us invest, to help us grow our roots and spread our wings. We want you to let the entire world know about it, because again, this is a project, this is an initiative, this is an ecosystem for all of us, Decade of Our Repatriation. So in conclusion, Madame Wase, Abibitumi, Abibifoɔ.
Abibitumi, Abibifoɔ.
Decade
of Our Repatriation.
Decade
of Our Repatriation.
Decade
of Our Repatriation.
Abibitumi, Abibifoɔ.